Thunderbolts with an asterisk is out in theaters, latest movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. This was directed by Jake Schreier and stars Florence Pugh, Sebastian Stan, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, Louis Pullman, David Harbour, Wyatt Russell, Hannah John-Kamen, Olga Kurylenko, Geraldine Viswanathan, and Wendell Pierce. This was marketed as Marvel's version of Suicide Squad, in a way, a team-up movie, but instead of the big gun Avengers, you have a bunch of fucked up, flawed anti-heroes, and in some cases, straight-up antagonists from previous adventures, and they have to come together and try to become better if they are to have any chance of saving New York from a new supernatural threat, which is essentially a giant metaphor for a fight against depression. So we have, in terms of the characters, we have Yelena Belova, the new Black Widow, the Red Guardian, and Taskmaster, all three coming straight from the latest Black Widow movie. We have John Walker out of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier Disney Plus series, and Bucky, who also showed up there and in all the Captain America movies. We have Ghost, who was the antagonist of the Ant-Man and the Wasp. We have Valentina, who they all work for, at least initially, and finally Bob, who is a new character in this film. So the spoiler-free version is that it is. Let's start with this. It is better than the last couple Marvel films. I think that you see an improvement. This was interestingly one of the movies that was in production or starting production when Marvel addressed the negative feedback. So there's always this production inertia that when even if they act on the feedback and they do make course corrections, it takes us, the audiences, about 2 years of time to really see the results. And this is supposedly the first film out of those that have been made after they course corrected as a studio. However, based on what I saw from the initial reactions, I enjoyed this film a little bit less than I hoped it would. I think it's a decent film, but not a truly good one. And while it is really strong thematically, which is a good thing, it is being somewhat let down by its surface level mechanics of a superhero movie and some clunky writing as well. Now, in order to explain better what worked and what didn't work for me about the movie, I have to go into some spoilers. So if you don't want them, now is the time to check out. Right, so as I said, I like the thematic exploration of depression, coping with the lack of self-esteem and trauma and guilt. I think that the movie manages to use that to tie Yelena, Walker, and Bob into that and make them similar to one another and relatable to one another, which of course leads to the eventual resolution of the final act conflict. I do think that Ghost and the Red Guardian are somewhat sidelined when it comes to this internal struggle, and also Bucky, realistically, probably should have been the main person who first manages to break through to Bob instead of Yelena, because she's going through the same thing he is in this film. She's shown to be going through the same struggles, whereas Bucky has already gone through them previously and he's come out the other side. He's completed his redemption arc and found a way forward. So it does feel a bit forced that Yelena, as the new hot main character, is filling the role that she is. But it still somewhat works, and it's obvious that they want to have Florence Pugh be the centerpiece of this film, so that's okay. I liked the performances from most of the cast. Again, Pugh, Russell, Pullman, all three very good and managed to pack some layers into their scenes. Harbour is the humorous heart and soul of the movie, and as much as I'm generally exhausted with the never-ending stream of Marvel quips coming from every single character in these movies, I think his character does work as comic relief, and I loved his line delivery. I do think Julia Louis-Dreyfus was a little underwhelming, maybe not even a little, maybe just underwhelming. She's not particularly threatening or dangerous as the antagonist. She was just kind of there. I like the action scenes. There's a very good combat scene between all the characters at the beginning of the film. There's an excellent single-shot fight sequence when Sentry is first revealed. I liked the Thunderbolts saving civilians on the streets of New York. I also think that the motorcycle chase could have been awesome if it wasn't completely spoiled by the trailers. Finally, I love what they've done with Sentry and the Void. Great visual effects right there, great sense of eerie, creepy strangeness with a character that I've loved ever since he was introduced in Marvel Comics in that fantastic run in the year 2000. Now, it's not all roses. I said that the surface level of the film is flawed, and I maintain that. There are numerous scenes which feel very clunky, poorly written, kind of childish. Like, they don't make sense in a really mature film, which thematically this is what it's trying to be. So we have the siege at the mountain warehouse, right? Where not only instead of sending a few quiet snipers, Valentina warns the characters by having an entire well-lit camp erected there, sending wave after wave of disposable characters in. And also, like, why does she need to be there in person? There's no reason for that. Then the Thunderbolts manage to escape on foot. That makes no sense at all. How does the Red Guardian know where to show up? That doesn't make sense. Then they arrive in New York, and I don't really get what Valentina's plan was. She says she wanted to have TV crews film Sentry defending her from these thugs, but when the team arrives, there are no TV crews yet, and after they're beaten initially, she just allows them to leave. I get that in the scene it's explained that Sentry is getting out of control at that point, but isn't she a cunning, devious, smart character, the head of CIA? Doesn't she have any backup plans, any backup goons? Why are our characters just allowed to walk out and regroup quietly on the street? It felt like a child playing with action figures, not a competently constructed movie for adults. I do think that the depression metaphor could have been maybe just a little bit more subtle, because it is incredibly obvious. Although, to be fair, not as egregious as some of the other metaphors in recent movies. I'm looking at you, Until Dawn. And I get that it's a blockbuster film, so you can't be too vague, but still felt a little bit too direct. And also, many people online guessed that based on the promotional materials, Taskmaster would not be in the movie for a very long time, and it was hilarious to me just how quickly she died. What a complete waste of character between Black Widow and this film. Strangely though, because she's such a non-character, there is no emotional impact of her death. I think it's supposed to raise the stakes and show the audience that this is for real and these characters are competent and ruthless, but not even any of the characters in the film gives a shit. And aside from one quick mention by Yelena, nobody seems to be affected by that death in any way, and that extends to the audience. And I had a similar feeling with Valentina in terms of her eliciting an emotional response within me. At this point in time, she's shown up in a couple of projects already, and the movie treats her like this big mastermind pulling the strings. But really, we have never seen her do anything notable or even competent. And this film, she still doesn't do anything competent. So I don't feel anything for this character. There's no tension. Final point about the dialogue. I was wincing at how much shameless exposition there was in terms of explaining to the audience who each of those characters is and how they relate to each other and where they have met previously. It is painful. I mean, just either rely on the audience remembering from the other projects or show it visually, film as a visual medium. Don't just say everything. It comes off as artificial. But okay, I feel I'm getting too fired up maybe. Point is, there is a good film somewhere in here, and there are flashes of it. And in general, it is more entertaining than not, but it does have these frustrating flaws that I'm tired of, because a lot of them are not new in Marvel. So I'm not entirely unhappy with this film. I think it's decent. It's bordering on solid, but it's not great. I refuse to say that, and I wish that they could improve on some of these areas which are still hurting to bring these movies truly back to the amazing level that they once used to be, because as of now they are just not quite there yet.